In January 2021, something happened that Wall Street never saw coming. A group of ordinary people, retail traders, Reddit users, kids on their phones, launched a financial war against some of the most powerful hedge funds in the world, the weapon they used. An app called Robinhood, GameStop stock went from $4 to nearly $500. Hedge funds lost billions. The little guy was finally winning. And then Robinhood shut it down. They blocked users from buying the very stock that was making them rich. And the company that had promised to democratize finance suddenly looked like it was protecting the old guard. It was the most controversial moment in modern financial history. And the man at the center of it all, the man who built Robinhood, was a quiet immigrant from Bulgaria who had grown up with almost nothing. This is the story of Vlad Tenev, the boy who left a collapsing country at 5 years old and built a company that nearly broke Wall Street. Vlad Tenev was born on February 13, 1987 in Varna, Bulgaria. This was during the final years of communist rule. The Berlin Wall was still standing, the economy was crumbling. Hyperinflation was destroying the savings of ordinary families overnight. When Vlad was still a toddler, his parents, both trained economists, made a desperate decision. They left Bulgaria for the United States. But they couldn't take their son immediately. Young Vlad was left behind with his grandparents while his parents tried to establish a life in a new country. At 5 years old, Vlad finally joined his parents in America. They settled in the Washington, D.C. area. Both parents got jobs at the World Bank. On paper, it sounded stable, but the reality was different. Money was tight, the family had few possessions, few books, few toys. When Vlad's father worked late, he brought his son along to the office because they couldn't afford a babysitter. It was there, in a university computer lab, that young Vlad taught himself how to use computers for the first time. His parents' visa status always felt fragile. One wrong step and they could be sent back to the country they had escaped. That pressure, the constant awareness of financial vulnerability, shaped everything Vlad would later build. He once said, "I remember always thinking about finances, being aware of them, and recognizing that if you were in control of your finances, that's a superpower." Vlad excelled in school. He attended Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, one of the best public schools in America. Then he went to Stanford University, where he studied mathematics. It was at Stanford that Vlad met a student named Baiju Bhatt, the son of Indian immigrants, raised in Alabama and Virginia. Like Vlad, Baiju understood what it meant to grow up as an outsider in America. They became close friends. After Stanford, both went to New York City. They tried to build careers in the financial industry. They launched 2 small companies, Celerus and Kronos Research, focused on algorithmic trading, and that's where they saw the problem that would change their lives. Every day, they watched Wall Street firms trade stocks in milliseconds for virtually nothing. But ordinary people? They were still paying $7 to $10 per trade, locked out by fees, complexity, and brokers who didn't care about small accounts. Vlad and Baiju looked at each other and asked a simple question. Why does trading have to cost so much? In 2013, they moved back to California and founded Robinhood, named after the legendary outlaw who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. The idea was radical: commission-free stock trading, no minimum account balance, no complicated forms, just download the app, deposit money, and start investing. Wall Street laughed. Traditional brokers said it was impossible, but before the app even launched publicly, over 1 million people signed up on the waitlist, without a single dollar spent on advertising. When Robinhood launched its mobile app in 2015, it was like handing a loaded weapon to an entire generation that had been told the stock market wasn't for them. Young people downloaded the app in droves. By 2018, Robinhood had over 4 million users, more than E-Trade. By 2020, over 13 million. The company was valued at billions. Vlad and Baiju became billionaires. Robinhood wasn't just an app anymore. It was a movement. And then came January 2021. It started on Reddit, a forum called Wall Street Bets. Retail traders noticed massive hedge funds had shorted GameStop stock, expecting it to collapse, but millions of small investors all bought GameStop at the same time. The stock went from around $4 to nearly $500. Hedge funds lost billions, Melvin Capital lost over 50% of its value. It was the biggest David versus Goliath moment in the history of finance. And Robinhood was the slingshot. But then, Robinhood did the unthinkable. On January 28, 2021, Robinhood restricted users from buying GameStop. You could sell, but you couldn't buy. The buy button was literally removed from the app. The internet erupted. Users felt betrayed. Politicians were furious. Conspiracy theories exploded. People believed Robinhood had sided with the hedge funds. Vlad Tenev was dragged before Congress. His answer was technical. Robinhood couldn't meet clearinghouse deposit requirements and needed billions in collateral overnight. Restricting buying was the only way to stay operational. It may have been the truth, but the damage was done. The company that promised power to the people had taken it away at the most critical moment. Death threats poured in. Vlad and his family fled their home. They hid in hotels with security. Robinhood's reputation was shattered. If this story has you hooked, hit subscribe right now. We tell stories like this every single week. The real, unfiltered stories behind the companies that shape our world. Turn on notifications so you never miss one. But Vlad Tenev didn't disappear. He testified before Congress, took full responsibility, restructured the company, improved Robinhood's infrastructure so it would never face the same crisis again. And slowly, the company rebuilt. By 2000, Robinhood had expanded into retirement accounts, cryptocurrency, and international markets. Its stock surged. In September 2025, Robinhood was added to the S&P 500. One of the most exclusive clubs in American finance, the app that nearly collapsed under the weight of its own revolution, had come back stronger. Today, Robinhood has over 23 million users. It processes hundreds of billions in transactions. And the entire brokerage industry, Schwab, Fidelity, E-Trade, now offers commission-free trading, because Robinhood forced them to. And at the center of it all is a quiet man from Bulgaria, a boy who was left behind by his parents at 5, who sat in computer labs because his family couldn't afford a babysitter, who grew up watching his parents live in fear of losing their visas. Vlad Tenev built Robinhood to give ordinary people the one thing he never had growing up: control over their own money. Whether you love Robinhood or hate it, one thing is undeniable. Finance will never be the same. And the person who changed it was a 5-year-old immigrant who arrived in America with nothing.